Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. I hope everyone is having a fantastic start to your day. Steve, is gold going to an all-time high here? Start off with the hype.
The answer is 100. The answer is yes. I mean, I just heard
20?
Christine Lagarde say, oops, maybe we made a mistake. Oops, numbers are bad. Jobs in the United States, much better, right? And things are looking better there. So, yeah, I don't know how many times I can bang the desk and say Europe's in trouble, Germany's in trouble, they're in recession. I think you heard it yesterday from Steve Flanagan saying that they've been in recession, right? Technically, they have been in recession for a long time, but this is getting worse and worse over there in Europe. And although I kind of like that, that's when I like to invest, right? So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think to me, and I've been saying this for a while, it's not gold for me, but it is silver.
And silver back above 31. So it broke that resistance we haven't been able to get across here going back to mid-December. Last time we tried to make a run towards that all-time high on silver. So yeah, looks like it's trying to make a run. You just got to be patient with it. I don't know. I think gold gets knocked down. It doesn't break 3 today. So we'll see what happens. I think that it's just that sell level has just been too hard for me. Switching gears quickly here, we have to talk about the tragedy in DC. American Airlines plane crashed with a military helicopter. Steve and I both spent a lot of time in the DC area. Have heard a lot of sort of fake news saying, there's never helicopters in DC, all that. I can tell you they fly up and down the Potomac all day long, taking generals and people back and forth to the Pentagon, to the different military bases, and out to Andrews. But our hearts go out to the people affected there.
Yeah, I mean, when you live like you and I have in the city, not in there, we call it Southwest or Northwest or Northeast or Southwest. We're just so used to seeing the planes and the helicopters and protection that we see. This is just really heartbreaking in a lot of ways, especially with National Airport so close. Yeah.
And with that being said, most of the airlines are down here this morning on that news. It just tends to give, bad news to the system. It does it. Steve, some economic data came out today already this morning. GDP and jobless numbers. Any surprise for you on either of those numbers this morning?
Nope. We expected GDP to fall. When we look at the jobless numbers and the unemployment numbers here, I think a lot of that has to take into effect of the holiday spree. People seem to be spending money. We saw about that doom spending a little bit, and so you needed more people to handle that, more people at Amazon, more people at FedEx to be able to take those packages to people. But I do expect the next unemployment numbers to be worse. So no, this is kind of what I expected here.
Yeah, and in LA, you have a lot of issues there with the weather that has caused some of this unemployment numbers to sort of go up. GDP growth did slow to about 2.3%. It was a little below expectations, and down from quarter three. Not really too many surprises there. The key things that my takeaways were we saw consumer spending remain strong. So that's one that you always tell me to keep an eye on. And that trade deficit is still widening a little bit. So those were the two things that I was sort of looking at that I'll be seeing how the president sort of digests this news and what he has to say today. Yesterday, FOMC, no surprise there, right? I think we need to get into the central bankers to start off the day. No rate change, slightly dovish, I would say. Out of Powell's talk. You mentioned purple tie was in effect, and I think that's the last one that is available in DC. Is that what you were saying this morning?
I don't think that there's a purple tie in any men's store anywhere in the city of DC.
That's funny. I did see, Goldman Sachs sort of gave their 3 takeaways. Their chief economist said, first, the policy stance as meaningfully restrictive, indicating that the FOMC has not concluded rate cuts. Second, the FOMC is not in a hurry to cut rates and is reluctant to act until there is a greater clarity on policy changes from the new administration. I did think that was a takeaway I got out of Powell yesterday, was he sort of put it back. They're playing a little bit of tennis over there in the Capitol, huh? He hit the ball back into Trump's sort of court and said, hey, listen, you've got to make some policies got to come out. What are you going to do? And then we can decide what to do.
Right.
With that, we did see
chip on the shoulder right. Powell has a chip on the shoulder right now.
Yeah, and then Trump didn't take long for President Trump to come right back in, and he came out, with a press conference. As I said, he did wait for it to end, but he did renew his, criticizing Powell. So they did avoid, directly talking about each other, but they did, continue to fuel that. How do you think that plays out over the next couple of months?
Well, Powell and Trump Powell was picked by Trump, right, at the beginning. And Trump has said over the last months, even into the election, that he wants to lower rates. And this flew right in the face of the president saying, well, I'm not going to lower them this time. I'm not going to let you dictate to us what you want to do. And I think that's what Powell was doing. I don't think this was I've watched several Fed meetings, and this was the most confusing meeting I think I've ever seen. I didn't understand what Powell was saying. I don't even think Powell was saying what he was saying. He was saying that numbers for unemployment were better, and they were better. But he's saying he wants to see more data. He wants to see more data. He's been saying he wants to see more data for 12 years.
Right. And that reminds me,
what
that
point data do you need?
With that being said, the other person saying the same thing constantly has been our favorite lady over at the ECB. They did cut interest rates by, 0.25%. So they're now down, 2.75. I don't have enough experience. So this is where I come to you and some of the other educators here. This divergence in rates, is that going to continue to push the king dollar up? It started to. It's cooled off a little bit over the last few minutes, but the first initial reaction to all of these economic data points seems to be the dollar is king, huh?
Hey, if your whole country and your whole zone, Eurozone in this case, is falling apart, then yes, of course, you're going to see that. So, yeah, and you know what? It's a flight to safety right now, which is gold and silver, and I think you're going to continue to see that. And Bitcoin is slipping a little bit here, 104.7, but there's a flight to safety, and people want safety right now.
Absolutely. Nice move up to 105,563. So reestablishing itself as, truly when it comes to Bitcoin, any dip below 100,000, take advantage of that, for picking up more. And looking at the differences, between the two countries with the GDP numbers here coming in this morning and ECB announcing theirs yesterday, just to, sort of more talk about that and break it down a little more. The Eurozone is expecting to grow 1.1%. 1.1% next year. That's a pretty, we're looking to be at somewhere in that 5 range. They're looking to be at 1.1.
When you don't have technology, you're not pushing the envelope. I mean, look at Tesla today, 407. They missed on earnings, but Elon came out and said, hey, we're going to have robo-flying taxis. We're going to have magic beans again. And you know what? The market pushes right on up. And you're not seeing magic beans in Europe at all. You're not seeing anybody pushing the envelope with technology. And guess what? You're not going to see anybody buying and going to shops and spending money, and you're going to see them sitting at home, and that's what's happening. And so the GDP is not going to grow, and you're going to see more countries in recession. You saw Spain lowering rates, you saw Spain lowering taxes and inviting foreigners into their country, and guess what happened? Spain is the bright spot in Europe. So
yeah, they pointed to Spain, and the one that blew me away, they pointed to Greece as being a strong point, which unfortunately is a nation that's been under, severe inflation, severe deficits, severe issues for years. Germany and France stagnating. That was the other thing that really got me. Those are the two biggest, entities in the euro. So how do you make some of these other countries can't make that up?
It's time for a European vacation. And that's pretty much what's happening right now. I mean, look, take advantage of it. It's what I always say, take advantage of money and take advantage of situations. And you know what? With the dollar being so strong, I enjoyed when I was in Tokyo, right? Because the yen was cheap. So look, you have the same situation. You're talking about 30% off in Japan, right? From last year. So look, if you're starting to see this in dollar euro, we call parity when it goes to 1-to-1, it could very well do that here soon.
So just wanted to get a little bit into some of these earnings reports. You know, we've had them fast and furious. You brought up Tesla. Tesla up about 4.5% this morning. It did drop down right after earnings and then skyrocketed up this morning. It was down about 2.26% last night. They reported earnings of about 73 cents a share. Their revenue came in at 25.7 billion, and their automotive gross margin fell 16.6% in the quarter. But again, Musk came out and forecasted 20 to 30% growth. He was really adamant. You know, I think that, you know, we talked about guidance is the major thing we're seeing, and he had no problem. He said, we are going to build these Model Ys. We're going to catch up our production in the next 6 months. So he really pounded the table. I think it's time here. You know, it's either put up or shut up time for him, huh?
Yeah. I mean, let's see how that goes. I don't think that's going to be the case right now, but I agree with you. Put up or shut up.
And, you know, next in one of the reporters down pretty big here. Again, you know, it got hit really hard in earnings last, you know, quarter. Also, we see another drop down, a similar drop down. And it's funny, I was looking at the Microsoft chart because what basically happened is if you bought the dip after the last earnings report here, you know, in November, they bottomed out at 405 that day, climbed all the way back up to 442. And, you know, we're trading 447 or so here yesterday before now being back down at the 420 level. Microsoft on their earnings, you know, it's all about the miss on their cloud growth, right? They, you know, missed Azure has sort of dropped down. They seem just to be not the sexy play right now. Do you looking at
you know what they're doing? They're buying their way out of the problems.
Yeah, are you
no,
interested
because
in maybe buying
Microsoft
here?
No, because I think Microsoft is buying their way out of their problems. Azure, you know, they're not Google Cloud, they're not AWS. That's why Azure's losing, and I think Microsoft is buying their way out of it. They're investing in open AI. They're investing in other companies, which they should, since they're not keeping up, and that they're trying to buy their way out of it, and they have the cash to do it. So that's understandable.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because one of the takeaways I have on my sheet here is that their capital expenditures have risen to 15.8 billion versus last year about 9.7. So a 50% raise on your capital expenditure. That's a big number. And like you said, that definitely shows. And as we can see, they're getting hit pretty hard here so far tonight, or this morning, excuse me. Meta, right. Another one that had earnings yesterday. They are up about 2.71%. You know, EPS $8.02. You know, not a bad little EPS there. Revenue was up 21% to 48.4 billion. They're gaining users. You know, again, Meta, you've talked about it. You've been one that's been riding that boat up and has been a fan of Zuckerberg. Looks like he's got the right sort of idea here on how to, you know, manage the expectations of huge capital expenditures versus actually getting results from those. Would that maybe be your difference between Microsoft and Meta right now? Is that money that Meta is sort of put in is starting to pay off already, whereas Microsoft, we're not seeing that?
Yeah, Meta did one thing well. It did the VR, AR, and people, while they are poo-pooing us somewhat, Meta was at $99 a share a few years back. Today it's almost 700, right? Mark Zuckerberg is one of those guys who does push the envelope. He doesn't stick around. He bought Instagram. He thought that was cool, and look at Instagram now. He is not waiting around to see what's cool. He is just doing it, and you gotta give him some credit for that. Even though his perm of his hair is a little off, I think that
the guy that has that much money should definitely have a better hairline.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it from the perspective of what he's building and what he's doing. He's got the ecosystem, and I've said this a million times that Hey, you want to know who's going to win the AI world? It's the companies that already have the data. And guess what? Facebook has the data on all of us, whether
Yeah,
we
they
like it
have
or
that
not.
advantage for
What if
sure.
it's not Facebook, then it's Instagram. If it's not Instagram, it's WhatsApp. I mean, he's got it
Yeah.
all, right? So he knows the
Yeah.
world.
My key takeaways, things I wrote down here. Number one, when it comes to capital expenditure, again, a company that is just spending 60 to $65 billion this year, 70% higher than 2024. So my takeaway there is it isn't about, people don't get spooked if you're spending money if they see that money is actually bringing results. I think that's the difference is people are seeing the changes in Meta. The platform's getting better. The new Oculus is better. Threads is coming out and actually, making a move. Like you said, Instagram is making, advances. You're seeing that where I can't point to too many things in my Microsoft suite. And I use both very much. I use, Microsoft 365 has been a part of my world forever. I'm old school when it comes there. I use those. But nothing there excites me the way that using Meta does now versus what it looked like a year ago. So I do think that is a big one there. And like I said, I'll be interested to see how they do with Threads. I'm not a big user. Do you use Threads at all?
Supposedly I do. I don't even know it. And they just keep shoving people onto my
Yeah. Well, the same thing is I didn't realize I was so popular on Instagram until I realized I'd hit a button that said, Facebook, please, mirror all of my posts that I do on Facebook on Instagram. So they're also pretty good at doing stuff like that. But Meta's, definitely to me, like I said, seems to be on the right side. I will say that their Reality Labs, which you and I are big fans of, the VR side of the world that they have there, they are still struggling a little bit. They had a $5 billion quarterly loss, but I don't think that's unexpected, right? We know that that's not making money yet, we're still in the infancy, right?
Well, I'm sitting here with an Oculus and with an Apple Vision Pro and some VR stuff. I can tell you right now that whoever leads in that is going to be leading in two things. They need to lead in battery power, and they need to be able to understand pancake lenses, which is what we're seeing now, and getting away from the way that we have it today. Then you're going to see some serious movements, and where we get away from using big desktops. I can't wait to get rid of all of my screens. I want to use my VR, AR all the time because it's so much easier, right? And I think you're seeing it now. I think I saw the other day where the new Apple Vision Pro will just use your fingers, and it won't be this heavy thing on your head anymore. It'll be a light thing. I think I saw where Oculus now is completely getting away from having controllers. And I saw also where Nintendo Switch is also getting rid of having a controller too, where you can use your fingers. So yeah, I think we'll be walking around. Everybody's gonna be like this all day long instead of having your head in your phone. So if that's the case, I think whoever wins that, but it's a social media issue, right? It's a social issue. Will we accept that in public? People, using their fingers all day long. We'll know when they're doing it, right? So will that be a socially acceptable thing? That's what the difference is. Socially acceptable, having your head down all the time. I think that there's people that have neck problems because of it, right? So we'll see. But I think Meta is going to win all the way around. They have been so far.
Yeah, without a doubt. I thought that they came across as winners. I also was curious. I think that maybe part of the, like you said, Microsoft's big bet in getting into the world of AI has really been OpenAI, and SoftBank is now putting $15 billion that was announced into OpenAI, which potentially makes them the largest investor, surpassing Microsoft's $14 billion commitment. So,
all right, well, let's put it this way. Christine Lagarde's talking right now. She says that it's totally unrealistic to provide forward guidance given uncertainty. And she also says, no way. She's confident that Bitcoin will not be in the reserves in the EU. Christine, maybe it's time to step down.
Yeah, we can see. Yeah, man, I just don't know what saves the EU. Like you said, there's no one really there that looks like they're ready to step up and sort of take the mantle and say we need to move into the 19th century, never mind the 21st century. There is no innovation. Half
that your countries in the EU are literally in recession. Half those countries are in recession, and you've got and you're saying you have no idea about the future, you don't have, you are uncertain, and you don't want to use Bitcoin, you are behind the curve. Oh, she says I'm not behind the curve. She totally is behind the curve. When you say you're not behind the curve, you're totally behind the curve. It is time for her to step down. I'm banging the table on this one. Step down, Christine Lagarde.
Yeah, you pound on the table about Gary Gensler, Janet Yellen, and this would be, another one where it's time for a newer generation to come in, and even though we're part of it,
Yes.
Ron Williams wants us to know that finger waving that will help people communicate with aliens. So he's with you there. He's ready for those days. But yeah, it is disappointing when you see the ECB, continue to face these things. It looked like they understood and were getting a guideline with MICA to embrace digital assets and bring them into their TradFi. And, we see, and again, the only countries that are doing well, Switzerland. Why is it doing well? Because they promote digital assets and they're adopting, financial innovation. What we still see is the days that of where they think
I just got back
and ING
everywhere
and
in Switzerland. It's all about digital.
Yeah, so it just doesn't make sense to me. But I did think that was interesting also. And I thought maybe that was wearing a little bit on, Microsoft yesterday was maybe that SoftBank and everybody else taking shares in AI. OpenAI is going to devalue their shares maybe a little bit more. Earnings. UPS, did you see that one this morning? They were the biggest laggard this morning so far on the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 1000, down about 14.72%. They had their revenue. And while they had a beat on EPS, they announced that there's going to be a 50% reduction in their Amazon shipping volume by 2026. So, it shows you when you have one customer.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So that's really bringing them down a lot here today, without a doubt. So, weighing on theirs. As we are about 8 minutes from the open here, tick is advanced decline is looking to open nicely up about 2,000 here before we get to the open. So that usually you'll see about another 1,000 to 1,500 move in one direction or the other once we get to open. Bitcoin holding up at 105,000. Gold at 2790, man. It just keeps knocking on that door, but it can't break through yet. Steve does think maybe today is the day. We do see that, so we'll keep an eye here. When we look at overseas markets overnight, a nice move up. So that quarter percentage point, move by the ECB does have the stock 600 up about 0.6 of a percentage point here. Highs that we haven't seen, 52-week highs here, there. So the market seems to like what she's saying. I think they like the fact that they made the rate change before we did, is about the only thing they really actually like there.
The U.S. market likes what she said because she's so far behind, and they know that Europe will continue to fall behind. So there's only one place to put money, and that's in the United States. So yeah, the U.S. market loves what she has to say. She's hurting her own area. So of course.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. When the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world saying that they're putting most of their money in the U.S. stocks and equities, that should be, a shot across the bow to Miss Lagarde. And you would think that they would realize that maybe if that's the case, we should be looking to do something different. Another company under pressure today is Caterpillar. Steve, did you see they had their biggest drop in years, biggest daily drop? They're down about 4.13% here again. They actually did have sales and earnings beat, but they lowered their sales forecast for 2025 by about $1 billion. And that's definitely wearing on.
And I'll tell you exactly why. It's construction revenue is down 8%. So construction's down. People aren't building right now. They're working on software. They're working on hardware. We talked about this. So that's correct. I would also say let's look at John Deere, DE. I mean, John Deere is another one that if you pull the John Deere stock price up there, you'll see that it's different, right? It's ag, and ag is doing quite well right now. So I like John Deere. I don't like Caterpillar.
So does that change? Yeah, I guess I was wondering if maybe, the rebuilding you still have going on in North Carolina and the East Coast from, the there and the wildfires, if maybe, that might be, Caterpillar might see some sales from that maybe. I can tell you here in farm country, like you said, yeah, John Deere is what you see. They're the ones that matter to the farmers, and they have huge subsidies to buy new equipment on a regular basis by our government in general.
Yeah, I mean, here we go. 27.86 now on gold here. Spot gold here, 27.86 again. Record high here is 27.90. So we could very easily hit it today. Look at silver, Hi-Ho silver, 31.43 now. So I think we go to $50. I still think we go to 50. It may take us about 3 or 4 months, but the flight to safety is here. It's Tesla and silver. I mean, that tells you a lot right there.
Yeah, without a doubt. Staying with more earnings, another one that had a little bit of a drop here, Sherwin-Williams, SHW. They had a soft 2025 outlook again. Outlook from these, forward guidance is what's sort of driving the move here, down about 3.11% here.
If you see home prices continue to slip, nobody's changing out their home prices, and you see rates continue to rise, no one's buying new homes, no one's painting their house. So, yeah, you might see Sherwin-Williams in the situation where you're inside the home, but the more paint is sold on the outside with the more expensive paint for the outside of your home. And you're not seeing that. So, no, I don't see Sherwin-Williams doing very well. I think Sherwin-Williams should take the time now to make better paint, right? Better quality paint. They've got good paint, no doubt about it. But this could be the time where they spend working to get better paint. Got about 3 minutes here to the open here. I think we're going to have a pretty positive open with wow, look at that. Light sweet crude, $73 a barrel here. We could push higher here, but tick is pretty flat. The one thing that I was waiting for yesterday was a direction from Powell, and we just didn't see that at all. It was the most confusing Jay Powell, non-sweaty Powell, I might say for the first time, but he's definitely not. He's nervous, right? He doesn't know what to do. He's got a new president. He says he's not listening to him. He's doing his own thing. And then of course as we said yesterday was going to happen the minute that Powell gets done speaking. That Trump will have his say in the public's court, shall we say, and he did. So, hey, I think that we need to listen to what Trump is saying. He's saying he wants lower rates, and I think he's going to get them.
Yeah, I don't argue with that at all. I think that, the back and forth and the rhetoric, they can all say what they want, but the bottom line is the market, it needs lower rates. We need lower rates. The economy needs lower rates. It did its job. Inflation is not, when you're talking about 0.1 percentage point, 0.2 percentage point away from your target, what's more important is continuing to allow people to buy homes, allowing people to refinance that have got killed over the last couple of years that bought homes at these bad prices, me being one of them. And, that we need to see that. Another AI play to the downside is ServiceNow. NOW had earnings yesterday, and down here again, double digits on the downside. I didn't see a lot that surprised me one way there. Did you get any takeaways? I really couldn't find a takeaway that had me down 10% on this one.
No, not me neither, to be honest with you. But I will say that outsized orders of zero DTEs are crushing the markets right now. And if you don't get into this, it's nervousness, right? So, and they're taking advantage of it. And quite frankly, 80% of the money in the mornings of this early, especially down that much, is based on algorithmic trading, right? These are the big firms that can do that, and they're punishing these stocks. And then guess what they're doing? They after they punished it, made their money, they're buying them back at a lot cheaper rate. So totally understand there. Look at that. Look at Tesla, $410.50 now a share.
So just to expand a little bit on what Steve's saying there is, what we see, especially in the pre-market, in post-market hours, overnights, is you see a lot of the large institutional trading companies that are using it and have algorithms that are working all night. So once a data point comes, especially on a day like today, where you had all this economic data in the morning, it's already programmed. If the ECB cuts by 0.25, this is your reaction that you are to make. Once they make that reaction, then the next algorithm looks and sees that it dropped, X amount of ticks in a certain amount of time, and they follow that trade. It exasperates it. And what it causes is capitulation then from the retail trader, pushes that price even further down. And then that's when those algorithms buy back in. So
all right, well,
speaking of algorithms,
we are live here. We are open in the stock now, Tesla 411 here. I'm still long my NVIDIA, and we're up a little bit here still. Not too worried about NVIDIA yet. Still staying long there. Not worried.
I am still long also in at around the 119 and change area, so I am up slightly. I'm going to continue to run that one longer.
Advanced decline line 4,200, so we should see a fairly positive day here, I think.
The VIX is dropped back down to 16 here too, Steve. So it's good to see that again. Once it breaks below that 15. Those of you that are looking to get a little bit of a hedge against your, north side positions, the VIX under 15 is where I like to buy it. You don't want to be chasing that when it's already too late. You want to be buying the VIX when you don't need it as protection, not when you need it. NVIDIA now up 0.5 percentage point here, Steve.
I'll tell you the big winner today is IBM. They have been really pushing a Watson and their play, and they killed it on earnings, up 10% here. I've been talking about IBM for a while. If you notice, I talked about it in the summertime when the stock was way lower, around 120-ish. Now it's at 250. So look at this. You got to still like IBM. Good old Big Blue.
Yeah, absolutely. Very strong earnings by them. Their revenue rose 1% in the quarter, driven by their AI growth. They now value their AI business at about $5 billion, up from $2 billion in Q3. So again, a company that's showing us that their capital investment, their capital expenditures are paying off, is being, met with strong, solid reaction to the upside.
And they were right. They got the game early with hardware. That's what we talked about. With hardware was the answer, and they did that. And Watson X and their servers, you got to give them big props to IBM. I've been calling that for a while. So yeah. IBM.
Another one in the chip sector that reported this morning was Lam Research, up about 6% here, Steve. They had good earnings also. Their Q2 EPS came in at about 91 cents a share, up from estimates about 3 cents below that. And their revenue rose 17% to $4.38 billion. So again, Lam Research, I think that confuses people. They think it's a healthcare company, but they are a chip factor manufacturer. They work a lot on chips that go.
And all these companies that are beating, and you look at it from the perspective of Elon Musk. When you say something good, you're talking about the markets. The reason markets are pushing up and pushing down like this is because they're mispriced, right? Elon missed on deliveries. He missed on building cars. But then he started talking about ride-hailing services that are going to be autonomous driving. I can't wait to not smell as a smelly Uber driver and the car drives itself, right? I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Starlink being on a cruise ship. These are real deals, the real things that he's working on and building. He said he didn't start them. I get all that. But he is taking it to the next level. And because of that, you're seeing it right now. The stock price is just showing that.
Absolutely. And sort of the opposite of what we saw yesterday, we had another of the major, media companies. We saw the positivity in Fox yesterday after they reported their Super Bowl sales. Comcast, on the other hand, down about 8% here this morning. Again, they beat estimates, but they're losing broadband customers more and more every day. So I'm not surprised by that. I'm not a fan of the company. I don't think
the cord is growing. I mean, who isn't cutting the cord at this point, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, internet's getting better and better, and it's not internet from cable. It's internet from fiber. It's internet from Starlink. It could be where we don't even have cable going into the home. You remember a time when the telephone was a wire? Some people don't even remember that, right? Some people don't even have wired telephone in the
It's
house.
funny
Right?
you say that. The wife and I were watching an older Law and Order last night as we were going to bed, and they had to pull over the car, the detective Logan, and grab the cell phone to make a phone call. And my wife, who's much younger than me, was like, "What the heck is going on?" But yeah, that's what we used to have to do. If you had to call someone, they beeped you. You got a beep, then you pulled over and made a phone call on a payphone. You needed to have quarters at all times. Remember those days?
I do actually, Howard. I do.
Yeah, I'm with you. And this is pushing Comcast to 52-week lows. And I don't even think this is a buy area personally for them.
No.
It makes it difficult. That you can see that it is an all-time low.
They're not into AI, so guess what? You can still see more slippage here in Comcast.
Yeah, so definitely
Institutional selling there. That's not just retail selling. That's institutional selling because retailers don't even know what Comcast is. So
right.
That's true institutional selling.
We do have Apple, Intel, and Visa on track today, Steve. Any of those you looking at more so than another or anything? Or, for me, I'll be watching Visa to find out about their blockchain integrations into crypto. I want to see. I also love the data that they give you because Visa gets such a good look at all the different sectors that it's a great place to do a channel check is their earnings reports because they break down by sectors. Retail was up last month. Consumer staples was down. Consumer discretionary was up. They tell you where people are spending their money, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Not only that, but I think Visa integration. So Visa's integration into other companies, how they run Plaid or whatever. Visa's integration into blockchain. Visa's integration into crypto. They are gripping it by the throat and saying we're part of this with this new era. I think in a lot of ways they were looking for more government intervention, making sure the government wasn't going to shut them down if they build something. And they feel better about that now. And of course, Bitcoin now 105.2 now here. So we're going to continue to push higher here.
Yeah. And the other part that I will point out there, Visa, MasterCard both realized years ago that they needed to at least be exploring how blockchain would integrate with their systems. And they've had test programs and pilots and connections with different crypto companies and banks working on that for years. So they're going to be ready to go. That's the one thing that they're going to have an advantage on.
Yeah. I agree. And I'll tell you something else that I think Visa has is the name. I mean, the brand is everywhere. It's Visa. It's everywhere you want to be. I mean, I can rattle that off very easily.
That's a commercial.
Yeah, I should pay you for that. Right?
Yeah, but you're right. And who carries cash? I mean, I know as a bartender for years, I only had cash. But I don't ever have cash in my pocket anymore. You use your debit card or your credit card for everything, right?
Yeah. Right.
You know what's really slowed down the rhetoric? I haven't heard as much anymore about the credit card reward programs that, 2 or 3 years ago were under so much scrutiny and threatening to be, outlawed by Congress, literally.
Well, I think that people aren't excited about loyalty programs anymore. People aren't loyal to the programs as much. I know that as a United flyer, that I'm very stuck to my United flights. I'd like to go to Delta because I think Delta's maybe even doing better than United. But that sticks me to the thing. Royal Caribbean sticks me to Royal Caribbean. I'm loyal to Royal, right? So I think you're going to start to see people that are not quite as loyal to those loyalty programs as much. And they're just looking for price now at this point. They're looking for, wow, Tesla's slipping here a bit here now, under 400 here. It could be a nice pickup down here at 400. Yeah, look at that. I think a nice little buy down here. I like that.
Yeah. Still dropping a little bit. We'll see.
NVIDIA dropped a little bit here this morning.
I will say that 50-day MA is right where that support level is bouncing at right now. If you look here on the daily chart.
I do like that Tesla move here.
You looking for a buy here on the bounce of the 50-day?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I am. I'm going to go long here.
There you go. Steve's going long here, right around 450 cents.
Let's see what I get
in there.
Let's see what I get in at. I am long at 414.
You got it. So here we go. Steve's in there on Tesla.
And 399.70, so there's some slippage here. But I like this buy here. Maybe I'm going to buy a little bit more here. I'm in 399.12.
Okay.
All right, so put those together, and there's your answer where I'm at. So And I think that's probably the end of the sell.
399.60.
417 right now. There we go, back above 4. So I think I'm going to hold that like I did Nvidia the other day. I like that slippage here.
There you go. You were talking about Intel there. You interested here in anything picking that up before earnings? You really want to see what they do here?
I mean, Intel is so far behind, even with their new money from the previous Biden administration. I just don't see it. 401.20 there. There you go, Bob. Pop, pop, pop. There you go, Tesla. Thank you. So, yeah.
Nice little move up there. I'm on the other view of Intel. I think what's going to start to happen, I don't know that I'm a buyer here before earnings, but I do think that they're going to start to, again, because of all the money being put into them from the government, they're going to start to say, we broke ground on this foundry or we're at this thing. And I do think you'll see some spikes. I don't think they'll be maintained because building out what they're trying to build takes years, not months. It takes years to build a foundry. Everything has to be spec'd to millimeters, and that's hard to do.
I am looking at now. Let me tell you something here, and I'm going to be on Schwab Network on Tuesday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time, and I'm going to take a victory lap a little bit. I mentioned Netflix would go to $1,000 a share, and look where Netflix is right now. Netflix is now $9.94 a share. So.
It broke it. You already won that. You were away. I didn't tell you that. Yeah, it hit 1,003, I believe. We gave you your victory lap when
you did while I was gone. Okay, I like it.
Yeah. Both Steve Flanagan and I gave it to you. So just so you know, there we wouldn't leave you hanging like that. You made that call. Here comes mid 800s, if I'm not mistaken, about 860, I think it was.
Yeah, probably
that call.
Yeah. Oh no, way lower than that, like mid 700s. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Continue to push here.
IBM up about 10.11% here. Las Vegas Sands up about 8.68. Then another one that had strong earnings reports. Domino's Pizza. I didn't see if they have earnings. They're up 8.23% here this morning. Something moving that needle dramatically. I didn't think they were on the earnings list, but I could be very wrong there.
Nvidia is still dropping here a little bit. It could put some pressure on. We're hearing reports now that Trump is expected to speak from the White House this morning. I believe on his tongue will be talking about the crash, and then he'll probably go into something probably about Powell at some point. And let's see if he stays on. Message.
I've got to be honest. I'm not seeing anything why the Domino's. I'm trying to search here. I don't see why Domino's is moving this much so much.
Hearing reports that Belgium's airspace now is closed due to a technical issue at air traffic controller. All of Belgium is down.
Trying to see if I can get any news on DPZ here. Domino's Pizza. The only thing I'm really seeing is that inside buy for about 8,000 shares.
The selling in Nvidia is getting kind of picked up a little bit, down about 2% here. It looks like to me it's a zero DTEs are hitting this pretty hard. It's not real selling here. There's not a lot of people actually own the stock like that. It's mostly institutional.
Yeah, and what we've seen the last, over the last few months is, when retail sort of starts at 9:30, we see a move for 15, 20 minutes in one direction, and it, the algos seem to move it in the other direction and take advantage of it.
They take advantage of it, yeah. I think they'll take advantage of it again today too, as well.
We were, I will say, some interesting figures that Agnieszka Wood shared with us yesterday was that 87% of day traders are unprofitable. 87%.
That's low, I would say. I think it's higher than that, right? And that's why we're building what we're building in Quasar Markets, right? Stop trading and start investing. Start making better decisions, right? I think that's the key to this.
Informed decisions.
Yeah, informed.
Without a doubt. Do you see gold again still struggling to get to that 2790? It's just got a lot of sellers in that area. We'll see if it can break to an all-time high. Bitcoin back above 105 here nicely, 105.2. Crypto, almost everything was moving to the upside here.
31.50 now on
big
silver.
News indicator there was just Trump. DJT is moving into the crypto space with Trump Media, not just with their meme coins and everything, and that's starting to move ahead. It has Solana here up nicely, about 5% today. AVAX up about 4.36%, Polkadot up about 5.75%. So it does have it moving nicely. Bitcoin mining companies also nicely all moving up today in tandem here. Mara out up around 1930, up about 5% today. So it does look like crypto getting a little bit of love today. Mixed here on the Mag 7, we see some volatility. Google up 2.5% here this morning, Meta up 4.34%, Tesla up 1.7 now, Netflix up 1.2, Microsoft, the big loser, down 5%, Nvidia down about 1.7. Apple, the only one. It seems like everybody's waiting for Apple to report today. See what they have to say. We do that. One of my little favorite companies getting hit pretty hard today was Tractor Supply. They did have their earnings also pre-market, and they are down about 3.83%. They were down over 5% earlier, so they are moving back up a little bit. Again, they had a slight miss on EPS of about a penny and a slight revenue miss. And most of their growth was unfortunately driven by new store openings. They only had about a 0.6% increase in comparable sales. So not exactly, they were the darling of COVID, and, had been still riding pretty high here, but getting hit a little bit here, down about 4%.
Tesla's still slipping here. I'm not liking that sell off here, but I'm going to say long. I'm not scared.
Cocoa down about 4% here, Steve, although it's just been on such a run that doesn't even do anything to help relieve the cocoa prices. You're still at.
Let's talk about one stock we haven't talked about, one of my favorites, and I have always said buy that sucker when it's under $100. Disney, that's right.
I knew as soon as you said under 100 where we were going.
Yeah, look, Disney 114, and that's more like a 14% return in less than a few months. So, hey, in a day that when the markets are down, look at that. Nvidia right back up 122.68. That's why I'm not nervous about Nvidia. That sell was just zero DTEs. Don't be shoved out of the market by these people. Take advantage of them. Beat them up. I'm tired of the zero DTEs. It's time for that to go away. And it actually is going away. It slowly is now. I know that there's still revenue there, and they'll continue that. But they need to get burnt, and they're getting burnt right now. They're at 123 now share. So that's what I'm saying. Hey, congrats. Take it to the 120.
Not surprisingly, overnight too, Steve, did you see OpenAI sort of going after DeepSeek? They're saying that they are launching an investigation to see if they're using distillation to form DeepSeek, which you sort of alluded to already yesterday as what probably was happening there. And those that don't know, that's where you basically copy off your neighbor. They run
Those of us in the AI world will tell you DeepSeek was the biggest deep crap. Look, it's the biggest ripoff, knockoff, China lies I've ever seen in my life, and I'll be the first one to say it. I will not install it. I've said that on the show yesterday. I don't want anything to do with it. If you install it, you're an idiot if you install it, because they're just taking all of your info in your computer, taking your keystrokes, everything. Why don't just give me your underwear while you're at it, and I'm not doing that. And it's not a good product. It's not good. We know that. 105.5. And look, but China is saying, "Oh, look, we're in the game. Look, we got a better product." They don't. We already know that.
Well, and they're also giving it away. So you have people who don't realize that the best $20 you can spend every month is on an AI subscription to ChatGPT, or even better, to Quasar AI, which will give you the data straight from NASDAQ, straight from the Fred, straight from Edgar, and World Bank and other direct databases that we use. But you want to spend that money on those. Don't cheap out there and give all of everything you're doing on your computer to China. We made that mistake with Facebook and Meta and these other companies years ago. Luckily, laws are in place now that sort of try to make that be a little bit less. I am still a firm believer that my phone listens to us at all times, because
it totally does. It knows the minute I'm talking about something on the
anything I mention that I might want to maybe buy sometime in the future immediately overwhelms all of my searches. So, that doesn't just happen by accident.
Ticks up 400 here. So we're still seeing some positivity. And the advanced decline line positive by almost 5,000, 4,700. So this is a positive day in the market. But remember, folks, day and a half rule. The first move was always the wrong move, and we saw that wrong move in the first of the Powell yesterday. So hey, here we go. 398 now on Tesla. So we'll probably break back above the 400 here pretty soon. 123.30 now on Nvidia. So if you got shook out, that's on you. 105.7 now on Bitcoin. Probably break 106 here in a little bit. Here we go. It's on its way.
Yep, definitely making a run here. Ticks, like you said, staying up. Advanced decline, 4,700, nicely moving to the upside. All of our major markets are up here. The Dow Jones up 1/4 percentage point. SPY up 0.6 percentage point. QQQ about to break the 1.1 percentage point up, and RUT up 1.28, nicely bouncing back. Yet it was the bigger loser yesterday. So a nice move up by the RUT here. We are running into resistance here. I will point out for those of you that are in the Russell 2000, we're right about its resistance level here that I've been watching at that 2320 level. It just hasn't been able to get there since, for about the last month or so, hasn't been able to break that level. So I do think we'll see some resistance here at that level. On my other hand, I do think SPY could see a little bit of a breakout today. I'm targeting 622 as the next sort of analyst position there to take a look at. 622 would be where it completes its measured move up here. You look for key resistance, though, at that 609 to 610.44 area. If it can break above that 610, watch for a run towards 622, half measured move up. QQQ at 525 here. It's in a little bit of a sort of in-between area here. You've got room up to about 532 as its next resistance, sort of key resistance zone to keep an eye on. And it does have nice support here, but it hasn't respected the 50-day MA at all lately. It's broken below it on quite a few occasions. So I don't know that I would trust that support level too much here at that 520 if we do start to see a slide to the downside. Steve mentioned Bitcoin, where we're at here. What I'm looking at from a technical spot, 105.8 is, again, we've got room to run to about 107. I would be looking, if I was in a scalp, towards that 107 area here to probably be selling off and looking for that retracement. You can see we have started to develop a nice little zone here over the last couple of weeks.
I think it pushes through 106 here. I think we might go through it.
Yeah, 107. Like I said, I'd be holding into 107 on a scalp here. At 107, I'd be starting to look to fade it out. What was that, Steve?
Tesla's still slipping here a little bit. I'm not liking that.
Yeah, I wasn't so much on buying right off this morning. I thought we'd see some buying right off the morning, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not scared of Tesla. We're going to keep going.
Tick is still staying positive here, so people are buying. We are seeing things move up. Some things move up nicely here.
ASTM. Come on, Bitcoin, let's go, baby. Come on, 105.9 now. Let's go. Let's run.
Broadcom here up nicely too, 6.69% here today. So chips, definitely one of the sectors leading the way. Everything outside, not named NVIDIA in the top sort of 10 there, moving up. Intel also another.
There it is, 106, baby, 106.1, 106.2. We called it right.
Liquidation are going to come in, but they're going to stop around that 107, 150 area. So we could see a quick move up to that area here. There are a lot of open interest, as I've been talking about on the show. There's a lot of people. Same problem Steve talks to, the zero DTE in the stock market is the leverage positions in the perpetual futures market, and they are levered to the T's over the last few weeks. That's why we've seen this volatility and Bitcoin move things up quickly one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm not liking this move here on Tesla. People are taking profit a little bit.
Financial is bouncing back nicely today after a tough day yesterday. We see most of the big banks moving up. Goldman Sachs really leading in that area. I did want to mention Blackstone had their earnings today, and they knocked it out of the park. My biggest takeaway, I didn't realize that they were as big, and they're down 2% after hitting all-time revenue beats there. So this is one that I could be interested in on a buy the dip thing. And part of that was their CEO was on CNBC talking about how they are the most major player when it comes to leasing out data centers. They build data centers and lease them out to these major companies, and they are only increasing that. And he talked about their ability to scale that at a much quicker rate than some of these other companies in the space. So I am now going to be taking a closer look at Blackstone as a major player in that data center space that I didn't realize they were that big in.
Data centers, hardware. I can't bang the table hard enough on that one. That's exactly where it's going to be. And we can't do all of these things that they're saying until we see better hardware.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's why this one interests me. This pullback here, their earnings, Blackstone, private equity, they're towards the top in my book of it. So I actually might take a little, if it holds this 50-day for a little bit here, right at this 180, 150 area, I'm looking at this one. So I might go long Blackstone here before we leave.
Here we go. 106.1 again on Bitcoin. 106.2 again on Bitcoin. Look, maybe these states are behind now, looking to put their budgets to work to buying Bitcoin for their bottom line. And guess what? Now it's going to be a fight to get Bitcoin because there's not that much on the exchanges right now.
Steve, I just entered an order in. We'll see if it gets filled here at 181.50 on Blackstone. 181.50.
People always ask me about BlackRock, Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. It's very simple. They know how to make money. And people who know how to make money usually beat on the earnings. And when they beat on the earnings, the stock goes up. So you usually can't go wrong there.
And I am targeting 190 to be my first profit spot there.
We could pop to 107,000 here very quickly here. I just want to remind everybody.
Liquidations. Like I said, I was looking for a quick move to that 107. That's why I'm saying I would be looking to let that go, especially
Trump is to sign a bunch of executive orders at 3:00 today, so get ready. I mean, he's going to sign a whole bunch more today.
I just got my fill on Blackstone there, so I am in at 181.50. Let's go Blackstone. That's usually a company I root against.
Tesla pushing higher here, 393 now, finally. So yeah.
Nvidia regaining 122.50 here, so it's starting to move a little bit up. The big loser of the day, Microsoft on the Mag 7, also seems to be finding some buy support here at that 420 level. Bounce back up to 422 here. Meta continuing to just dominate so far. Early trading on the Mag 7 up almost 5% here. Looking to break to highs of the day. Looking to try to get about 710 here.
Now we're seeing Tesla selling off a little bit more again, and we're seeing Nvidia selling again. That was pretty heavy selling there. Not liking that quick move there.
Bitcoin back below 106 here, so we are seeing a little bit of a pullback there. Gold, here we go, Steve. 27.88. 27.88 highs of the day here. Can we break to a new all-time high on gold before we leave the air in a few minutes?
I ain't scared.
You calling for it?
Yeah. I think today or tomorrow we'll have an all-time high on gold.
I love it.
And you're looking at silver continue to push higher here too. So I mean, yeah, of course you're going to. Awesome.
I will say all 11 sectors of the Spider Select funds are in the positive today. Again, they break down the SPY into 11 categories. Biggest winners so far, real estate, XLRE, the real estate fund. That's interesting. Followed by utilities. So some of the ones that have been beaten down over the last couple of days, bouncing back here. Communications, we know, was beaten down a little bit. That got its lead back by T-Mobile yesterday. We're seeing some more love there, up 1%. Laggard right now is the material sector, is pretty much even on the day, so we'll see what we get. Tick is coming down more towards neutral here, Steve, so we could see a little bit of a sell-off here as we're looking all four of the major indices, though, to the upside still. I will say the QQQ is cooling off a little bit. It was up about 1%, now only up about 0.62. Mag 7 seem to be the ones dragging on that right now.
Well, we're coming in the 10 o'clock hour, and that's what people are going to do. They're going to take some profit off and go to bed. And they probably didn't make a whole lot of money today, so they're not happy. So they're going to start selling. So that's part of what's happening right now.
And what Steve's talking about there is a wide swath of day traders that look to trade just the first hour. They're scalping 0 DTEs. They do that, and you can't do it as you get closer to the end of the day because it gets even more risky. It's like, risk time risked. So we'll see what happens here. Steve, as we end up today, what are you calling for today by the end of the day? New all-time high on gold in the next 48 hours, you said. Yep. Bitcoin approach the all-time high here this week, you think?
Approaching it, I think, over the weekend. Yeah, I think we'll see Bitcoin at all-time highs very soon. Speaking as, we look at Trump's talking quite a bit, right? And he is not playing around. He loves the crypto space. So
and I can tell you from the mainstream media side, we're going to see more, as you know, for my role at ABCA. I've been getting a lot of media requests lately. Wall Street Journal this upcoming Monday, talking with them. Bloomberg next week also. Everybody wants to know what's going on in the U.S. with crypto right now. So it is something that I expect to continue to see there too.
I will also say this much as we come in the 10 o'clock hour now. I'll tell you some very interesting news, and I always talk about this all the time. We are literally 9 days from pitchers and catchers reporting in baseball in spring training, and you will start to see slowdown in the trading in New York because why? They're all down here in Florida, and they're all going to hang out and go watch in Arizona and watch their spring training, their baseball teams like the Mets and the Yankees. You can see that it happens sports with March Madness in March. So, yeah, I think you're going to see some slowdown here in the trading over the next few weeks.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We will be back at 11:30 with Matthew Tuttle from Tuttle Capital, and Jeremy Vreeland from Bullish Bulls. They will be here doing their watch list. And then at 1 o'clock, we have Scott Bauer back from Prosper Trading Academy. And at 2 o'clock, we have Dr. Alan Ellman in his series continuing here this week. He talked about earnings reports. So we got a lot of great things on track today for you. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.